I don't think we should stop praying about our needs. What we'll find, though, is that God is interested in how collaborative we can be at getting those needs met. So one of the things I felt compelled to do during this series is take an inventory of all the ways that I have prayed. And I define prayer here as unmistakable prayer. So it wasn't looking at all of the creative forms of prayer, which I am down with, like looking out a window as prayer or reading fiction as prayer. Don't knock it until you try it. All that stuff is amazing. But for this inventory, I mean like prayer, like explicit, recognizable forms of prayer. And the list keeps growing, but as of today, here's what I can trace. As a kid, all I really knew were repeated fixed prayers in Mass, the Lord's Prayer and Hail Mary. I remember trying to learn the Rosary in catechism, totally failing at it, and hearing my great-grandmother pray the Rosary in German before she died. And in high school, I got into prayer walks down long Saskatchewan farm roads. And I was looking for direction in my life and noticing God in the beauty of being outside, even in Saskatchewan. And in college, I started journaling my prayers. I filled books of these things. I've got a trunk full of all of those journals, so bless. And in my 20s and 30s, I dove into prayer books and contemplative practices. I did all of them: centering prayer, Lectio Divina, Taze, breath prayer, labyrinths. Oh, I love a prayer labyrinth. In my 40s, I've been matching prayer with meditation and silence. I surprised myself through COVID by writing prayers for this community and turning them into a book, and I still love prayer books. I literally have 2 copies of the same one, Celtic Daily Prayer, one for the office and one at home. Now that's a lot of prayer, isn't it? You kind of think I do this for a living. But seriously, why have I prayed in all of these forms? What have I been looking for? I think it's safe to say that I have always been trying to meet a need. And as my needs change over time, so do the shape of my prayers. Today, we focus on just one line in the Lord's Prayer, the one about bread. And we'll talk about what to do, about what you need. We'll talk about us and our daily bread, and Polyvagal meets prayer. So here it is, Matthew 6, verse 11. It's so short, I'm going to read it twice. Give us today our daily bread. Give us today our daily bread. This is the part of the prayer that kicks off a set of 4 succinct petitions about our human needs. And to really just stretch it out today, we're going to take it word by word. So the first word, give. It is the main verb, and it is a command. The part of speech is imperative. And my Basics of Biblical Greek textbook says this about imperatives: there is no more forceful way in the Greek language to tell someone to do something. So you get that, right? When it comes to our needs, Jesus seems to say, go ahead. Boss God around. And maybe I'm overstating it a bit. This is, after all, a very common Greek imperative. It means to give, permit, yield. But what I love about it is just how clear it is, bold even. Bring your needs to God because you believe God will act. Now, you likely have a relationship with prayer like this already. Maybe it even sounds like what we'd call a laundry list of all the things you want God to do for you. Like, God, just make it better. God, just open a door here. God, just bring me the love that I want. And the problem with the laundry list is that honestly, it gets a bit boring. I don't know about you, but I get tired of prayer as a chore. Give me what I need. I've prayed prayers like this for decades. And when I look down, oh, look, the same old laundry pile is still there. Have you ever felt this, praying about needs that seem to go unmet? You are not alone. Even so, I don't think we should stop praying about our needs. Maybe it's just enough to name those needs in the presence of a friend, a lover, and of course, the living God, and to trust in the power of just being heard. What we'll find, though, is that God is interested in how collaborative we can be at getting those needs met. So the scholar Anna Case Winters says Matthew 6:11 has a double frame of reference, meaning there are two interpretive levels going on here. On the one hand, it's clear that the prayer looks to God and petitions God to respond. But there is an equal and important balance, the assumption that humans play a part. After all, who plants the seed? Who harvests the grain? Who kneads the dough? Who mans the food stall? Who sets the price of bread? Us. We do. And I wonder, as many times as you have prayed the Lord's Prayer, how often have you thought about how political this prayer for bread might be? Jesus always had an eye on the economic situation of his audience. It was primarily poor. In particular, his audience carried a great deal of debt due to heavy taxation of an unjust Roman system, extracting more and more from the poor. They paid imperial taxes and local taxes, resulting in lost land, forced labor, and revolts. These were brutal times. So when Jesus teaches the crowd to pray, "Give us bread," this isn't a prayer that bypasses their very real need for bread. But here's the thing. Bread is never just about you. Jesus was all about a new society made possible because we show up and we share with our neighbor. Now, in the history of interpretation, one of my favorite thinkers is Gregory of Nyssa, a doctor of theology in the Eastern Church writing from the 300s. And Gregory was like, look, Jesus wasn't talking about spiritual bread or some kind of mystery bread that you save in your pocket for eternity. And in a paper titled Eating for Eternity, the Social Dimensions of Gregory of Nyssa's Interpretation of the Petition for Daily Bread, quite a lot, love academics, the authors say it like this. For Gregory, eating bread is a deeply spiritual activity with profound importance not only for one's soul, but also for the well-being of one's neighbors. Gregory wrote about the importance of guarding. It's active. Guarding against our greed. If we begin to desire so much more than what nature requires of our body, if we get hooked on luxurious goods and require more and more resources, there will be profound social implications. Preach it, Nyssa. It's like the guy knew about our world too. What Gregory cared about was that the bread we need to survive comes from just and loving practices, both in creation and community. He put it like this: if you should wish to enjoy pleasant sensations in the gullet, that is the mouth to the stomach. Let hunger and not heaping satiety upon satiety, nor ruining your appetite through overindulgence be your delicacy. In other words, enough bread tastes so much better than way too much. With our habits of consumption, that is a truth for our time, and it is one that could actually reshape the world. So let's talk more about daily bread. The next word in the verse, because here's where things get even more interesting. The bread is described with this unique adjective, epiousios. And this is where we get daily, as in our daily bread. And what's so interesting about this word, epiousios, is that it doesn't occur anywhere else in Greek literature except for the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6 and Luke 11, which makes defining it tricky. Guesses include bread that is necessary for today, as in daily, or some footnotes like that NRSV UE say necessary for tomorrow. And Amy Jill Levine retro translates the term back to Jesus's Aramaic, where she says you can get something more like bread for tomorrow or bread for the future. So why do we say daily if it could mean so much more? Well, here's where we zoom out a bit. See, you can't run into bread as a Jewish reader and not think about Exodus. And in Exodus 16, the Israelites have fled slavery and are in the desert, and they are grumpy and they are hungry. And they say, if only we would have died in Egypt. At least there we'd die beside pots of meat and piles of bread. And Yahweh hears this and says, oh, babes, I got you. I'll do something about this. I will rain down bread from heaven. There will be enough for each day. But that's not quite enough for them. The Israelites push their luck and take more than they need. And the result is that the daily manna rots to high heaven. So for 6 days, they take only enough for each day. But then time slows down as God reminds them of a sacred rhythm. You work for bread for 6 days, and then you rest on the seventh. Moses said to them, this is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is to be a day of Sabbath rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until morning. So they saved it until morning as Moses commanded, and it did not stink or get maggots in it. Eat it today, Moses said, because today is a Sabbath to the Lord. You will not find any of it on the ground today. This Exodus story, it lived in Jesus's body. So when he teaches his audience to pray for bread, he points to a world where provision is a given. Our daily bread is about enough food every day for everyone. And it's about what Jesus had in mind when he pointed out how he embodied the Sabbath itself, not one day a week, but every day. One of the first things Jesus does in the Gospel of Mark is redefine Sabbath. Remember how he walked through the grain fields with his disciples and they plucked off heads of grain for a snack? Only the Pharisees said, you can't do that. It's unlawful on the Sabbath. And Jesus said, that's funny. The Sabbath was actually made for humankind, not the other way around. And later he'll say, come to me when you're weary and I will give you rest. Talk about holy Sabbath in human form. For Jesus, grain and bread and sourdough starters are all reminders of the dream of Sabbath, that rest, restoration, and provision for tomorrow can be lived realities today. So our daily bread is about today, but it is also about a new kind of tomorrow. But I hear you. You're still wondering how to pray about all the needs that we have right now. The need for peace in times of war, the need for healing when bodies and relationships are broken, the need for safety and security and holy checks on power, the need for daily bread. You still wonder what to do if you lose your paycheck, or your kid has a need that's a challenge to meet, or you simply want to feel the closeness of God again and trust that it's for you. Well, the last word in Matthew 6:11 is this emphasizing word, today. And if you were to diagram in the Greek this verse, the modifier of time would just sit at the bottom of a nerdy little chart, there to remind you that time matters. What good is last month's bread or the loaf that you bake next year when your need exists today? The truth is that none of us can meet any of our needs alone. Go back to all of the ways that I have prayed in my life. You think I made any of those up? I made none of them up. They came to me from our faith ancestors, this rich tradition. Without them, I'd be completely spiritually lost. We survive in body and mind and soul because we learn to trust each other. And how we actually learn to trust each other is an evolutionary marvel. Holding today my last point about prayer. Come on a little voyage with me. Hundreds of millions of years ago, we all started with one system of survival. Scientists call it our reptile brain. This brain was not social or cooperative. When it was in danger, it would just freeze. When threatened, this creature played dead, because that usually worked. Predators don't eat dead things. We didn't stay there. We developed a second system, commonly known as fight or flight. And this system prepares a creature for action through increased heart and respiratory rates and blood flowing to your muscles to get you to move. This was a huge step forward for social species like us, helping us to survive. But we didn't stay there either. We developed a third system to survive beyond fight, flight, or freeze. And this system reaches throughout our whole body to calm us and bring our heart rate back down. It affects our facial expressions and the sound of our voice. And this system makes it possible for us to trust and to feel safe. Our bodies use all three systems in reverse order. We begin with system 3, and if trust is broken or a problem is not solved, we head for system 2, and if we can't fight or flee, we drop down to system 1. Have you ever had such bad news that you fainted? Or you know someone who did? They fell all the way through to that reptile brain. But that's not even my point, as kind of cool as it is. My point is that this model of survival, known as Polyvagal Theory, that is the vagus nerve that exits the brain stem and wanders through your entire body, taking information from your brain to your organs and back to your brain, is always already meeting your needs, and you hardly notice it. You are designed, and you have evolved to get your needs met. I wonder if we could just go a little easier on ourselves about praying to get our needs met. Because remember, you cannot meet your needs alone. The farmer grows your food. The therapist points out your family system. The friend makes the joke that only you get. The stranger gives you a smile that makes you feel seen. The doctor prescribes the meds that haul you out of your depression. The pastor reminds you how much your prayers are alive and being answered in your own body. These are the ways that our prayers get answered. Someone you meet today is already baking your bread for tomorrow. Now, all you have to do is look around you and meet the needs of another. Just start at home and go from there. Maybe that's the prayer that God has been waiting millions of years to answer.